Driven, RE/MAX Hallmark's real estate show, with your hosts, Johnder, Perez, and Salhany.
We're live with Nezam Ayam, and we are your hosts of the RE/MAX Hallmark Driven show, Johnder, Perez, and
Salhany from Ottawa. Hey guys, thanks for being here.
Fantastic. And so we welcome Nezam Ayam to the show. So Nezam and I go way back, and you're going to hear the story here. And just to give you an introduction, so he's from our Bayview Village RE/MAX Hallmark office. He has achieved the 100% Club, Platinum Club, recently smashed through that Hall of Fame, RE/MAX Hall of Fame Award. So congratulations to you, Nezam.
Thank you.
You ready? We're going to jump right into the interview today.
Let's go.
All right, fantastic. Nezam, first question. What is the secret to your success in real estate?
The secret to my success, Johnder, it has become sort of a cliche, and I'm pretty sure everyone has heard this many times over, that don't get complacent. You know what I mean? Complacency is your number one enemy. Don't get comfortable. Like when you do a couple of deals and you see the paycheck, and then you're like, okay, I guess this is good for me to get me through for the next couple of months, so I'm not going to bother looking for more business, right? So that's the number one enemy of anybody who's looking to do more in this business. And well, at the beginning, sort of had that in the back of my head, but throughout the time that I've been with like different people, Johnder, yourself, and you've always told me this, that do not become complacent. And I'm sure everybody's heard this many, many times. So that's one of the reasons that I keep on looking for more business. Like I just don't sit back and wait for the phone to ring. So I'm always constantly like pretty much on the move.
Absolutely.
So Nezam, give us a little bit of background as to how you got started in real estate and then propelled forward to where you are today.
Okay, so we immigrated to Canada in 2003. I did like almost 3 years of high school here, and then I went to University of Waterloo, and I got my undergrad degree in engineering, geological engineering. And I started working in the field for 4 years. So I graduated in 2013 from University of Waterloo. But for some reason, it wasn't enough. Like I was constantly looking for like, this is not good enough, right? So I was actually looking to get my master's, but then I don't know, for some reason, I can't remember how it came like my way, but I just thought about like, let's just go to ORIA, like the college. Well, right now it's Humber, but back then it was ORIA. So I just popped in there, asked a few questions. But in the back of my head, I always thought of like doing something more. So I started working in my field as an engineer for 4 years, and I got my license. So I'm a professional engineer in Ontario. So as I was doing my engineering, I was studying for real estate as well. And so some of the courses were in class, some were online. And after work, I used to just like go to college, attend these classes and stuff. And that's how I got my license. And to be honest with you, everybody that I met and I came across, they've told me that I think you've got a great personality. You're a people's person. I think you do good in this business. And as a matter of fact, when I was in university, I sold a few used cars as a salesperson. And I was pretty good actually in like showing the value of whatever I was selling to people. And it was, I think it was in me. So I got my license, and I started doing real estate part-time. And that's when I met Johnder in 2016, I believe that was. And yeah, and I did real estate for, I think, less than a year part-time. And I was actually always in touch with Johnder. And one of the reasons where I am, I give credit to Johnder. He's a great mentor for me. And I just like constantly was like in touch with Johnder and asked him like like, what should I do? Should I quit my full-time job? Like, and he showed me, guided me towards the right path. And yeah, when I was actually a Century 21, a different brokerage. That's when I met Johnder. And then by talking to Johnder, he asked me, like, just come over to Hallmark, see if this is the right fit for you. And as a matter of fact, I started on a very successful team when I joined Remax Hallmark. And I was there for about 6 months. And I've learned a lot from that team. And that's when I decided to go on my own. And that's it. Yeah, I've never looked back.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy I made that decision.
And one of the reasons why I wanted to share this story is because some of you, like, who are watching this, some of you who will be watching this when it airs, we all come from different backgrounds and enter real estate. Some of us go full-fledged into it. Some of us are part-time into it. And one of the biggest struggles we always tell our candidates who are trying to get into Hallmark and are part-time is, the amount of commitment and the amount of dedication you need is not going to be part-time. It's not going to be sufficient. And so that does bring back memories because Nezam and I met while I was doing training at different brokerages. And I remember him. And back then, how much were you making, if you were willing to share this, as an engineer full-time?
So yeah, money was one of the reasons why I was looking for something else to do in life. And I actually was disappointed because when I was in school and I was doing co-op, I was actually making more than how much I started making when I graduated. So my yearly salary was around 60,000, and it was just like getting me by, just like barely. And my wife wasn't working, and I was expecting our first baby. So I was like, I gotta look for something else. So that's when I started looking at real estate. So yeah. 60 is not going to cut it when you are...
So you just answered the question about what motivates you every day.
Money is one of the reasons, but money is not the main reason.
I'm just teasing. I'll let Johnder continue.
And so and that's a great point there. And so I remember we were talking about this, and many of us have that challenge, especially starting out. Is you're starting out real estate, going into a commission sales field. And you've got 60,000 in salary fixed, expecting a child, growing family, wife's not working to take care of the household. And I was convincing Nezam, hey, make that jump, because it's exactly what you said. You've got the personality for it. And, this, we can't say this to everybody. It's not the same sales pitch we give to everybody, that we meet everyone and everybody's the same. There are truly talented people. I saw that in Nezam, and I said, look, Nezam, you got to be doing this full time, and you've got everything, ready to go for it. And I want to bring that into this question that we have, because it's basically talking about your biggest challenge starting out. So when I was training, I met Nezam, told him to go into it full time. So there was a bit of hesitation before you ended up making the move. I think you remember that, because week after week, I'd keep coming back and I keep asking you, when are you going full time into it? What are you going to be doing? So Nezam, what was your biggest challenge starting out? And then eventually, how did you overcome that challenge to get to that trajectory that brought you to where you are today?
Well, to be honest with you, Johnder, I wasn't even picturing myself doing a deal, right? Like when I got my license, the whole thing was like surreal to me. And I remember you saying that do not expect, like when you start the business, like at least for the first 6 months, like you shouldn't be expecting any business, right? But in the back of my head, I was like, maybe I will never get a business, right? Like maybe I will never do a transaction. But then when I did my first one, and it was exactly 6 months after I got my license, and that's when the balls start rolling. But it's, to be honest with you, the challenge is that like you have a steady income, and like you can't just leave that and go into an unknown, right? Like you haven't done a deal yet, and you don't know if you're going to be able to do any business. So one of the reasons was, as I said, like I was the only breadwinner in the house, so I couldn't just leave that job. But when I did that first deal, and I looked at myself and like, okay, I think I can do this, right? And if I just do the right things and be myself, I think I can do this. So that's when I started getting more business. And it's just that first one that once you overcome that one, and it just opens up the door for you. So one of the biggest challenge was like leaving a full-time job where you make a steady income and just jumping into something that you haven't done before and you haven't made any money off of, and just go with a leap of faith, which is not enough, right? So that's why for like less than a year I did part-time before and after discussing with you, Johnder, whether it's the right move for me or not. Then I realized that yes, it is the right move, and that's when I quit my engineering job.
So that's a little bit of a prelude into the next question here, which is, so how did you build that business? Can you give us some insight on, you know, what type of things and what vision you had? I know that you said you jumped on a team at one point, and I'm assuming that you gained some valuable information and experience with that team, but then how did you take it to where it is today?
So at the beginning, Dan, to be honest with you, I just had to put my face out there, right? And just had to talk to everybody that, like, especially within the sphere, that I am a realtor now and I can help you with your real estate needs. And on this, like, actually, in addition to doing that, I was actually, like, Johnder was like, came up with a platform, like a landing page, and I was advertising on social media, which I was getting some leads, but those weren't enough, right? So we tried different ways. And to be honest with you, it was just for the first year, it was just like referrals. After doing that first deal, like, I did 2 more deals within that family. And then I did a few deals within my own, like, family. This was while I was essentially 21 and I wasn't part of a team, and I was still doing my engineering job. So it was all part-time. And once I came to RE/MAX Hallmark, that's when I joined the team.
So you know what's really interesting in your response to that, and you said, you know, I used my sphere, and I'm just kind of doing my math that you immigrated to Canada 20 years ago, right? I think it was, you said it was 2003, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Right.
So
in that time frame, you also, unlike these, Johnder, you take it from here until I come back.
yeah, I think we're having some technical issues.
Yeah,
there.
I did not understand that question.
Yeah, I wish I could read Dan's mind at this point. But so you're
I don't know if it was.
Try it now.
You seem to be okay. So basically what I was saying is that, you know, in theory, you built that sphere, but you built that sphere in a very short period of time, right? Because that, I mean, you've only been in Canada for 19 years actually, and part of that was you were a younger adult going to school and going through the system, and then engineering and so forth and so forth. So I think it's pretty cool. And hopefully this message resonates with those of you that are either new to the country, new to the business, or don't have a massive sphere. Because, you know, we get a lot of people. I have actually somebody that's moving here from Calgary that's at the end of this month, and it's a new realtor, and she's all stressed out about this particular thing. And it's just, you know, the proof is in the pudding, right? You put your nose to the grindstone and you have some focus, and you just go for it. And you did something in a very short period of time that most people kind of have at their fingertips, in that, you know, that have a sphere or are trading in real estate in a community or communities that they've got an expanded audience and stuff like that. So congratulations on that part. Quite brilliant.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, and adding to that, I was quite fortunate. Like, at the time when I got my real estate license about 6-7 years ago, we did not have too many realtors within the sphere. And ever since, things have changed. But now that I've been in the business for 7 or 8 years or 6 years, whatever that number has been, versus somebody who's just got their license, even though, like, some of the deals that I'm doing within the sphere, they have somebody that's closer to them than me in terms of, like, being a realtor. I still get their business just because I've been in the business for over 6 years, and I am a broker now as opposed to a salesperson. So that's another thing that I tell to people, that I'm a broker now versus the person that you're going to give your business to. So I've got more experience compared to that person. So that's a selling feature, and it's working, and it's working.
So it's about finding the way to do it. And the other day we were on the phone before I invited you to this interview, and you and I have tried different marketing activities for your business, such as farming, such as newsletters, and all sorts of things. And yet, you tried something, it didn't work out. But one thing I commend Nezam for is that when I give him advice, give this a try, see where it goes. It's either going to work or it's not, but be committed to it. It's part of the learning process. And you stuck to it to a year and you didn't get any results, but you did realize that you got results from the other aspects of your business that we were building, which is your sphere. And so we continue doubling down on that. So with that in mind, real estate is a business, and there's things that you've got to be doing constantly to make that business keep flowing. And whenever you reach out to me, sometimes it's, how do I get to this level, or how do I get this next amount of business? What would you say is your daily activity that gets you to achieve the results that you're getting today, and then building up from first getting into the 100% club, now into the platinum, hopefully sustaining that and going beyond? So what do you do every single day?
To be honest with you, Johnder, I don't have a set schedule, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, okay, this is what I do on a daily basis. Mostly it's the night before that I set my schedule for the next day on what I do. So I'm not following a set schedule, unfortunately, like I should be, but I realized it's not working for me. So I'm just basically taking it like day by day. But that does not mean that I'm not like planning ahead in terms of like planting those seeds, right? Like trying to get leads and stuff, trying to look for that source of business. So I'm like, it's in the back of my head and constantly working on that. But at the same time, it's not that I have a set schedule where I get up early in the morning, like 6 o'clock is when I get up. I go to gym, that's the first thing I do, and then take the kids to school. But other than that, it's basically, if I have to do some showings in the morning, then I plan the rest of my afternoon like accordingly. Or if I have to do like some stuff in the morning and then show the properties in the afternoon. So that's how I do. Like the night before usually is how I plan my next day.
So hopefully my internet is back, and I apologize for that. So I'm going to get away from this a little bit. So can you give us some insight on how you look for new business?
So as I said, Dan, earlier, like most of my business have been like referrals and coming from the sphere. I am not afraid to spend money like on marketing myself. And I've always consulted with Johnder before I do anything. And I currently have like a few different marketing stuff going on for me. I've got a couple of bus stops in Ajax. As Johnder was saying, I've tried sending out like newsletters for over a year. So I'm not like afraid. I'm not shying away from spending money, but at the same time, I'm constantly looking for new ways of getting business. Even though, as Johnder said, I hit platinum like 2 years in a row now. I still think it's not enough. Like I want more business, right? So to put it plainly, I'm actually looking for more business, like compared to what I have right now. And I can easily just sit back and be like, okay, I think this is good enough for me. If I just serve my sphere and family, I think I can get by, no problem. But I always look for new business. So I've recently joined. I'm actually in the process. I haven't fully moved over. I'm actually going to start using agent locator services, and that's how because I've heard good things about them in terms of lead generation and stuff. So I'm giving that platform a chance. And again, like I keep on looking for new business and just finding ways to get new business.
Nezam, I'm curious, on your postcards and your bus benches and that type of thing, is there a call to action? Is there like, do you have like an incentive on there, or call me for a free evaluation, or your area specialist, or whatever the case? Like, why are people connecting with you from those sources, do you think? I think it's great. If the phone's ringing and people are texting you and emailing you and saying, hey, come talk to me, I think it's brilliant. So what is that message? And I think people would be interested in hearing what you're sharing out there.
To be honest with you, Dan, like it's more for people to see my face, then you know what I mean? Pick up the phone and give me a ring. I've had clients and their families in the area that I've served. And the first thing they say is, oh, we saw your face on the bus stop. So I don't think they stop by especially when they're driving, to look at what messages on that board. It's more so for them to see my face, and they're like, okay, the first thing that crosses their mind is like, okay, so you must be doing really well that you can afford to have bus stops and stuff like that, right? So that's one of the reasons I'm having bus stops. And I think it's working. Not necessarily I'm getting any direct business from it, but people are recognizing my face more now than, let's say, before, right?
So it's the perception. It's the perception that you've created, by the sounds of it, by maybe some volume marketing and some mass marketing. So if the automatic default for people is that, oh, well, if we're seeing him so often, he must be doing really, really well. Are you pretty concentrated, Nezam, in a certain geographic? I know you mentioned Ajax earlier. Are you pretty focused on a certain community within Ajax?
So I've lived in Northeast Ajax, and I've started there by business. Not necessarily I've done a lot of business in that region, but that's where most of my marketing focus has been. But last couple of years, I've been living in North Oshawa, and I'm getting actually more business here than from Ajax. So it's I get calls from my for sale signs here more than Ajax. I think it's more. There are more realtors, I would say. There's more like in Ajax compared to where I live in Oshawa. So it's working for me. So I'm actually thinking of like getting a few more bus stops here just to have my face out here more.
So what's really cool is that, and again, you go from talking about sphere, which you didn't have a really big sphere. Let's be honest. Like, I mean, you had a sphere, but probably not as much as many of us that are serving and trading in certain communities that we've been in for multiple years. And then secondly, your focus was in Ajax, you went to Oshawa, and basically you're expediting what you did there in another community. So what I'm hearing is the possibilities, regardless of where you are and how long you've been in real estate and the experiences that you have, as long as you're putting it out there and you're saying, hey, it's me, your community realtor, I'm here, et cetera, et cetera. And then I'm going to assume you're doing a brilliant job for your clients when you are transacting, because they're obviously referring you and passing your name on, and people are calling in saying, hey, you helped my cousin, you helped whoever, my neighbor, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll let Johnder go on with the next question, but thank you for that information. That's brilliant. Thank you.
And it's all about creating that presence too. So Dan's questions were spot on. And for anybody who's looking to pick up clues, right? There are no secrets to real estate. There isn't something that somebody's doing out there that you haven't yet discovered. It's more about the execution and consistency of it. But what Nezam found is that it's his branding, it's his presence, right? And it's that perception, as Dan pointed out, and you've got to be there, because I moved to Ajax a couple of years ago, and I drove by and I saw that big Shazam. I'm like, who's this guy? And it turned out to be Nezam from my own office, right? So it creates that impact and that branding. And I drive on 2 or 3 streets now that I see him there, and it's top of mind. So you've heard that's the saying of being a secret agent. You can't be that secret agent. You've got to market yourself well, right? So earlier you said money motivated you, which I'm sure money motivates all of us in this industry. But what would you say are what do you say keeps you really motivated in this business? Because it's not easy, right? To have gone through your path of having to, quitting a stable income, going all into this. What pushes you? What keeps you motivated every day?
Okay, so before I answer that question, Jody, just going back to like what you were talking earlier, a couple of things I've realized and I've learned over the years from Johnder, from all these other people that have been in the business and have been successful, is that just be yourself. Be genuine, be yourself, do not change, do not try to be somebody else that you're not. And I've noticed that it really helped me when I'm myself, and people are connecting with me, as opposed to if I'm trying to be somebody else that I'm not. So that's one of the areas that you got to be careful. And then in terms of Johnder said, like the more you put your face out there, it's like top of mind and stuff. That, and then plus, obviously, I'm sure everybody have heard this before many, many times, that real estate is a numbers game, right? The more people you know, the more chances are that you get like more business. So those are the points that I forgot to mention earlier. And I'm pretty sure you've like heard this many times before. And getting back to your question, John, what motivates me, just the fact that I'm the only breadwinner in the house. I have a degree in engineering. Not a lot of people have that. I have a license in engineering. Not a lot of people have that. And it's just hanging on the wall. And that's my fallback plan. That's my plan B. And I'm hoping to never fall back on that plan. So my motivation is that I keep on doing what I'm doing and just get better at it, right? As opposed to looking back and be like, okay, if this doesn't work, then I've always can go back to what I was doing before. So I do not want to go back. I just want to do real estate. I enjoy doing real estate. It gives me the freedom to have my own schedule. I have 2 little ones. My wife doesn't work. So these are some of the reasons that motivate me to continue doing what I'm doing.
I love it. You know, some of us have vision boards. I think we're going to go, yeah, we need to, you guys have to have a non-vision board behind you with all the stuff that you don't want to
rip up that go back to that
rip
up the degree.
I love it that but like you've got that degree there, right? And that's your kind of your reminder to say, you know what, I have this opportunity with this industry to create something even bigger than what I aspired to possibly at a younger age, and I don't ever want to go back there, right? So congratulations for for putting that in front of yourself and forging forward. I guess the last thing, and you kind of touched on it, Nezam, and then we'll open it up if anybody has any questions for Nezam. I know Johnder's going to put your contact information in there. So anybody from across the regions that hopefully want to connect with Nezam, anybody that's on this call right now, just have a little offline chat with him. It's a great opportunity for you guys to expand your networks and to support one another in your businesses. So what is your advice to whether it be a new realtor coming into the business or possibly a seasoned realtor that may be having some struggles, because we are going through a little bit of a shift right now, but shift is opportunity. So I'd like to hear what your advice is to both of those sides of the industry, new and seasoned realtors.
Okay. Also, again, I forgot to mention something earlier, Dan. So before answering your question, I go
That's
back
okay.
to so as you probably know, like from the part of the world that I am from, like our parents want us to become like either a doctor, an engineer, or a teacher, right? So one of the reasons, because when I was in high school here, nobody guided me to the like I'm not taking anything away from what I did in university. Obviously, it's not easy. I've been there 5 years, and one of the reasons I did what I did was because of my mother, because she wanted me to see an engineer, and it wasn't something that I always wanted, right? And now that I look back, I'm like, I fulfilled her wishes too, but at the same time, I'm doing what I like right now. So one of the reasons why I also not doing engineering anymore. So going back to your question, Dan, there are ups and downs in this business. There are disappointing times in this business. I've had a situation, and Johnder knows this, where 3 of my deals that were conditional fell apart in 1 week. 3 mutual releases in 1 week, and that's pretty hurtful. And I've always had like every time I had one of those, I called Johnder, and he's like, "It's okay, man. Like these things happen." So Johnder is one of the main reasons I would say. And I tell Johnder this in front of him, behind him, whoever I talk to. I tell him Johnder is one of the reasons why I'm at RE/MAX Hallmark #1 and #2 where I am. So thank you, Johnder, for that. And when you're down in this business, it's very easy for you to be like, okay, I guess maybe this business is not for me, right? Maybe you just hang up your boots and go on and do something else. But with the right guidance, I would say, with the right people that you have in your office that you can talk to, like you can overcome those situations. I would say there's more positives in this business than negatives, right? So no matter where you are in terms of like your business, if you're feeling down, just talk to somebody. Because everybody, as you say, Dan, no matter how seasoned they are in terms of doing business in this industry, everybody goes through like up and down, different phases, right? Sometimes it's challenging, sometimes it's disappointing, sometimes it's good, right? But those are the reasons. And when I was taking my courses in Korea, one of my professors used to say that don't follow money. When you do a deal, don't worry too much about the money or think about the money. The money will eventually come. Focus on that transaction that you're doing. Make sure that that transaction goes smoothly, right? Because from that one transaction, you get a lot more business. So for me, it's not doing one business with one person and then move on to the next one. I make sure that I lock that person for life so that he or she does business only with me, as opposed to like when I go to listing presentations, I tell the people that I talk to, I'm like, one of the reasons why I'm here and you're not going back to the same person that bought you this property is because you're not happy with that person. I don't want to be that person, let's say 2-3 years down the line, you're selling your property, and instead of me sitting talking to you at the dinner table, you have somebody else, right? So I'm like, that's more important to me than getting your business or getting the money, right? So I want to make sure that I serve you the best of my ability so that you stay with me. And then from you, I can get more business. So that's one of the reasons. And number two, in terms of commission, one thing I always use, and I think I've learned this from Johnder, is that, and I've been getting good commission, is that like it's true. There's nothing lying there, but I'm saying like whatever you write on paper, like whatever is my part, I'd be happy to take half of that away, right? The other half goes towards the splits, taxes, expenses, and all that, right? So that's one of the reasons it helped me to get like not lower commission, but I always go for the higher commission. Number two, when I print my forms, like my listing forms, I always have a 6% written there, pre-written. So I'm like, these forms come from my office. So I have no control, and we have a certain limit, right? So it can't go beyond, like below that limit. So these are some of the things that I do, and I've realized no matter what the market was, maybe it's like how I communicate to the seller as well, that have gotten me more business. And there's been times where I had 3 listing presentations in one day, and I was the only one that they interviewed, and I'm not even like BSing here. And I got all 3 listings. Yeah. So it's trust me, money is the last thing in their head. Make sure that they resonate with you, they can connect with you, and once they do, then the business is yours.
I think it's I'm just listening to you, and I think it's also the believability factor, and that factor is clearly coming from you, right? Like I feel that you genuinely care and you genuinely want to create an experience for your consumer. So good on you for.
And building that trust bridge is very important. It's very, very important. And once they trust you, because mind you, they give you like their biggest biggest saving in life, right? Like their biggest investment, they hand it over to you, so to make sure that you uphold that trust that they have on you. So
yeah, I kind of, when you heard earlier when you said what motivates you and stuff like that, I'm like, I think that there's some other underlying things here. You know, even though that you're the primary provider and stuff like that, and I think you've kind of figured it out, right? Like, you know, if I treat them well and I give them great service and I approach it in a positive manner where this is my value, this is what I'm worth, right? When you're walking in the door, you're believing that your value is there and that you're worth it. So that resonates through your message to whoever it is you're sitting in front of to gain that opportunity and to gain that business.
And it's also a lot about change and growth. So remember, Nezam and I go way back, and I've seen that transition. And many of you go through these transitions with the Hallmark leadership that you're working with, and you will encounter realtors out there. Number one, the problems. Yeah, there's a ton of problems that we face, day-to-day challenges, issues, deals falling apart, especially within the current market. And quite frankly, two things. One, we make a huge impact in people's lives. So it's on us to take that. We've taken on that responsibility. We chose to be in this business. And two, you're compensated very well, right? To be able to navigate these problems. That's the reason why we do what we do, out of passion, out of building value and building trust. And so Nezam, for agents who are watching this and hallmarkers in our family who are watching this, change is part of what you have to go through in your career. So a change in brand, for example, a change from part-time to full-time, a change in his perspective, right? And if somebody wants less than 6%, he's going to have to call his manager, right? In order for them to override that 6% commission. But just that mindset shift, because you're going to encounter realtors out there who are all about the discounting. The race to the bottom, once you get to zero, you're at zero, right? But creating the value, there's an infinite number. You can go up to 7%. I mean, let's not go there with this session, but you get the point. And if you're listening to Nezam's story and what has come out, it's the realization and that maturity and that continuous growth and that path that he has taken. So if Nezam, I mean, this question is not on one of, the typical question that we ask, but if there was one thing that you could say truly changed, like that turning point or that changed your entire perspective about you in this business and where you were going, what was that changing? What was that moment in time where you realized, hey, you know what? I think I've got this. And then you just, shot straight up. Where was that point for you?
I think the fact that, as I said at the beginning, Johnder, when I did my first transaction, because up until that point, I wasn't sure that if I ever going to get any business, right? But I was just working towards it as if I was like a high producing agent, right? And remember, you were telling me to try to market other agents' properties on your social media, right? And that's how I also like got a lot of recognition from people that were within my sphere, right? And they realized, oh, he's doing business. Like every week, he's got a new listing. Mm-hmm. Little did they know that it's not my listing, right? And that's how you also get a business. But when I realized that I think I can do this, right? Like after that first transaction, and then the second, so my very first transaction was a condo, 2017, purchased it for $289. So that was my lowest. I've never done any deal that's less than $289,000. And then the next one was 1.5 million, a property in Richmond Hill. And after that, it was just like, okay, I think if I can handle the lowest and the highest, no problem. But anything in between is not a big of a deal. And I was actually, when I was typing my first agreement of purchase and sale, I was copying the sample, like it was two screens, and I was going back and forth between the two. So there was the times that it's the tough times, and when you start, but once you get that one ball rolling, it just keeps on, you know what I mean? Keep on rolling.
I think we got the flow happening here. You've inspired me today. I got to do some other stuff and give myself a little kick in the ass. Oh, geez, this is recorded. Oh, well, too bad. So you know what, Nezam? First of all, we want to say thank you so much. We want to open up the opportunities. Does anybody have any questions for Nezam? Anything you guys can think of, throw it out there. We're just unmute yourselves and feel free. I think we've asked them some pretty core questions, and you know what? I honestly, this has been a great interview. There's just been some solid, just real information as to what's involved, as to mindset, attitude. There's obstacles, obviously, that you faced along the way. There was times where you wanted to give up. There was times where you didn't think you were going to make any money. And then, you hit the certain pivotal point, and that was light bulb went on, and obviously your business has had exponential growth in a very short period of time. And I'm going to assume that, that whatever it is on your wall that you look back at, you continue looking back at it and just keep forging forward, and hopefully, just adding more and more value to your business and to your consumers that you deal with, because it sounds like that's exactly what you've done and what you're doing. And I love the perception part, to be quite honest with you. And I don't know if you guys know this story. I've been in real estate for a long time, and I'll just share this with you really quickly. Many, many years ago, there was a huge marketing company called Hobbs and Herder. I think they were from the States. And they did this pilot project where they took this absolutely fictitious real estate agent, did marketing, branding, a whole bunch of stuff in a small community, and then did a survey of the community and said, who do you think is the #1 agent in this community? This agent never had a listing. Okay, this is back in the day, guys, when there wasn't computers and stuff like that. Sorry, yeah, I'm aging myself a little bit. I was very young. But they did this survey, they did this market survey to that community. And this guy came out like, it was like 85% of the consumers in that community thought he was the bomb. He was totally dominating the market as a realtor. So I think that the great message in this is that, you know, make sure you're heard, make sure you're seen, make sure you're part of community, make sure that you're out there, and don't be passive about that opportunity. We've got this, and I believe so. We've got this, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm wearing my little balloon here. We've got this, you got to check because when you're on video, it's the opposite. You know, we've got this brilliant brand that consumers automatically associate with professionalism, the best in the business, and so forth. And I really cannot express enough for you guys to get out there. Even the market is somewhat down right now. My agents, because I'm in Ottawa, are doubling down. They're actually going in the other direction. They're actually spending more money because they're actually trying to pick up all that business that people are just going, oh, it's a, you know, the market shifted, I give up, or, you know, I'm not going to spend it. They're actually doing the opposite. And the reward is far outweighing, you know, the expense and the opportunity and stuff like that. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, and adding to that, Dan, quickly, there's no one size fit all in this business. Like whatever works for you, whatever is working for you, just focus on that. I'm not door knocking, I'm not cold calling, I'm not saying you shouldn't do that either, right? It's not part of my thing, but whatever is working for you, as Johnder will always tells me, just focus on that. And then number two, if there is any problem, because I know like we have a great leadership team in RE/MAX Hallmark. And I don't know a lot of people. I just met, like, I'm talking to Dan right now, because I never had this problem where Johnder or Sam from the East End offices were not available, where I had to reach a third person, right? A third manager in the office. So these guys have always been there whenever I have a question or whenever I faced any problems. But the first thing I do is I never assume that what I think is the right thing. You know what I mean? I always give Johnder a call, or if he's not available, Sam, I give him a call and ask him the question. Like, this is what I'm thinking. Do you think it's the right way? Don't just play hero, right? Always ask the questions, because this is not like no small thing. This is huge.
Exactly.
Well, success leaves clues, right?
Right. Exactly.
And that's what we always rewind to when we look back to say, okay, you know, is the person on the right track? And of course, you can utilize technologies and so forth, but that same fundamental of hard work, honesty, loyalty, integrity, and doing, like, you guys can come to this meeting today and decide whether you want to implement or not implement some of the ideas and some of the energies and whatever, right? That's up to you guys. It's about the people that do it and take the risk and put yourself out there and just be different. So, Johnder, you want to wrap up?
All good. So if anybody has any questions, now's the time to ask. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up this episode of Driven. Anybody have any questions for Nezam? Good. Well, his contact information is there, so do network with him. If you're from Ottawa or Simcoe and you want to send business down to Toronto, go to iamhomes.com, and that's his website, or his cell phone number is there and his email address is there. We'll put it up on the YouTube as well. So Nezam, thank you so much again for joining us. What a great way to share your story, and we wish you continued success and much more achievements to come. And thank you everybody for joining us here on the Driven Real Estate Show from RE/MAX Hallmark.
Awesome, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Take care. Thanks, Nezam. Bye, everyone.
Bye for now.